Welcome to Ostate Daily Live. Casey Porter here, joined by Scott McKinley. I cannot wait for this show tonight, Scott. We have a ton to talk about. We had a huge victory for the Cowgirls on Sunday. I mean, they just shot the Iowa State Lady Cyclones out of the gym. We have one of the most disappointing losses in Oklahoma State basketball recent history, not ever. We're not going to go to those extremes, but last night sucked. We are going to talk about that. And we are going to break down, hopefully by video as much as YouTube allows us to, some of the portal class guys. We're not going to get into the Mesta Makers and the Hawkins and the Wyatt Youngs yet. You know about them. We're going to get into some of the other guys that we think you need to know about. So if there is a portal guy you want us to cover tonight, let us know who it is. We probably have video on that person and can break them down. But other than that, Scott, hey, how about it? Let me know what you think. I know your ass is still a little bit chapped after last night, right?
Yeah, that one. All of our viewers know I'm a pretty optimistic individual, but I'm not going to lie. That one last night, that one stung a little bit. At one point we had a 9-point lead late, and frankly, we just blew it. I mean, there's no other way to say it. It was just an absolutely awful finish by the Cowboys last night. And frankly, to me, that one struck a nerve because, we both have been very high on this team about making the NCAA tournament. And again, those goals are still out there. It's not, everything that they want is still out there in front of them to go get. But I also
have you seen her schedule coming up?
Yeah, it's brutal.
I mean, geez.
And that's the thing is, man, when you got a chance on the road to get a Big 12 victory, you got to close it out. That's all there is to it. And frankly, we just blew it. That's all there is to it. So
we did. Was my post a little bit too negative today? I was so pissed when I woke up this morning.
No, it's one of those things where if that game last night had just kind of been in a bottle, if you will, and okay, it's just a one-time thing, and that's all that we had, and we knew, okay, well, we've got other winnable games that are coming, and we just had a bad night. That's one thing. But the problem is that's not the only time that we've done that in the last whatever number of years. And granted, I get it. It's Coach Lutz's second year, but guys, we got to get out of it. We got to quit doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I felt, last week the loss against Baylor. Okay, I didn't feel good about that one because I really felt like that was a winnable game too. But yes, and I'm not going to shy away from yes, we've got to play better defense. I don't think anybody's going to say we don't. But I also know that when a team shoots 75% from 3.5, guys, it's hard to shoot 75% against air.
It is at the Colvin Center. Yeah.
Yeah. So I said, okay, all right, that was just a bad night. We didn't play very well. The other team was just shooting lights out. That's fine. Then we got a nice win against K-State. Again, K-State's not a world beater, but you know what? A win is a win. But
yeah, we got to win. I'll say that.
Yeah. A win is a win. But last night was just, guys, it was right there for the taking. There's nothing else to really. We just didn't close. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, if you followed this channel, I get pretty fired up about OSU sports. Period. OSU and all. I can't help it. I'm not gonna. I'm never gonna apologize for it. Absolutely not gonna apologize for it. It is what it is. So if you think I'm immature or whatever, it doesn't ruin my day or anything. But I will say it does put me in a crappy mood. I can't get away from the fact it just pisses me off. I know I'm 52 years old. I should be old enough to where it doesn't affect my daily life. And when I say daily life, I don't think about it like when I'm at work but just kind of whenever time I think about Oklahoma State basketball, it pisses me off. So I know I'm 52 years old. I know I should be past that stage of my life. But I can't do it, Scott, especially the way Oklahoma State lost last night. OSU gets an offensive rebound off of a missed free throw with a little over 3 minutes to go and a 7-point lead, and I think correctly so, pulls the ball back out, runs a little bit of clock, and then jacks up a desperation three at the buzzer, basically doesn't give themselves a chance to score to extend to 9, maybe 10. On the other end, TCU layup. We come back down, Victorious Miller, Kanye Clary, only 2 guys to handle the basketball. Ball never goes inside the three-point line. We end up with a decent shot by Kanye Clary, a little runner. Coach can say that that's a great shot or whatever. I disagree. Anytime you're shooting a runner and you're amongst the trees, not a terrible shot, but I won't say a great shot. TCU comes back down. They get the ball in the low post again. They score again. Oklahoma State gives up basically a wide open three with a 3-point lead. And then just the coach, 1 minute to go. The game is tied and we have the ball, okay? I'm not a mathematician, but I know if we get a shot up within the first 15 seconds, we're going to get 2 good possessions there. TCU is going to get 1. And then if you want to make the argument to me, okay, well, I don't like 2 for 1 because I think you hurry that first shot, and then you probably also hurry the second shot. So I would rather have 1 good shot running the shot clock, running the offense versus 2 hurried shots. I have no problem with that defense. But Oklahoma State, they just held the ball. They didn't run the offense. Kanye Clary held the ball until like 7 seconds left in the shot clock. So we got a crappy shot and then also didn't get a true 2 for 1. It was the most colossal disaster. And then the last shot by Victorious Miller out of a timeout. We called 3 timeouts, and out of all 3 timeouts, the shots we got were absolute garbage. I'm so pissed about this today. Coach Lutz, I love Coach Lutz. I want him to be the coach. I'm rooting for him. I think he's a really good coach. This was the worst game, and it was not even close, by far, coaching for Steve Lutz in the Steve Lutz era at OSU. He has to own that. Last night was 100% on him, and I don't even feel like I'm throwing him under the bus or throwing shade. I just feel like I'm calling facts a fact.
Yeah. And going back to the thing, what gets me with running an offense with basketball, and again, I don't proclaim to be the basketball expert on here, but something that has always driven me up the wall is if you get an opportunity where, okay, you're trying to work the shot clock down, whether it's the end of the game, game's tied, or, whatever, but then you don't start doing anything until there's like 7 or 8 seconds left on the play clock. So what ends up happening is you take this horrible shot, and then it's like, well, okay, all you actually did was just wind the clock down. That makes absolutely no sense to me. Because in basketball, I think the philosophy needs to be, guys, keep scoring. I mean, literally, the only time in my opinion, the way I look at it is if you're up 10 points with 30 seconds left, all right, pull back a little.
Fine. 7 points with 3 minutes and 12 seconds to go. No,
you can't. This is not football where you can just play keep away if you just keep moving the sticks. And you don't have to score. In basketball, you have to keep scoring. That's the only way to do it.
Especially if you can't play defense like we can't. Exactly. I mean, TCU got whatever shot they wanted down the stretch, right?
Yeah. So really the way that you have to look at it is, okay, over a 3-minute stretch, how much do you think TCU is going to score? Okay, we're not going to hold them scoreless, guys, right? And if you got a 7-point lead, you have to keep scoring. And frankly, in my opinion, all right, let me ask you this. Would you rather waste 30 seconds and put up a crummy shot that doesn't go in, or let's run a real quick, let's keep running our offense. Okay, it takes 5 seconds, but we end up getting Parsifalo with a layup. I'll take the second one.
Absolutely.
I mean that is something about the managing the clock in basketball. I've never quite understood the philosophy on that by waiting so long to start moving the offense. It makes absolutely no sense to me. But again, I'm not going to proclaim to be the basketball expert, but it's getting real frustrating when you see the same. It's the same formula, right? And to be honest with you, I think I've gotten to the point. I'm sure a lot of our fans have that. I'm conditioned that when it was 3 minutes left and we're up by 7, I
told my wife that the whole time. Ask her right now. I said, we're going to have to be up 15 or we're going to lose.
Yeah. And that's just and I think that's the sad thing about being an Oklahoma State basketball fan right now is we've kind of been conditioned that we just
20 years ago, it was the opposite. It was like, okay, well, we're down 11 with 3 minutes to go. We'll find a way to win.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And I don't have that feeling right now. Now moving on.
Yes.
From that, because again, basketball's a long season. One loss shouldn't define your year. Let's talk about a good basketball win. Let's talk about the Cowgirls on Sunday.
No doubt. They were playing good.
That was a real good win. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch it. I was driving back from Kansas, but we were listening on the radio, and boy, that was it's funny because that baseball, I'm the same way. Where sometimes it's just kind of fun to go old school and listen to a game on the radio.
Yes.
Because you can hear the excitement in the voices. But no, the Cowgirls were absolutely on fire from three. Iowa State had absolutely no answer for Hurd, for Timmer, for all the girls. They played outstanding. Now I know that Iowa State is missing a few of their pieces, but you know what? At the end of the day, that doesn't go down to the record books. Nobody says, "Well, you won," but that was a massive win, and the Cowgirls won in convincing fashion. I mean, it wasn't even close. So, so that was a big win for the Cowgirls. I have not looked at our schedule to see what we've got coming up this week. I mean, they're all big
Sunday,
games.
Sunday at Colorado, I believe.
Okay, that I would expect that to be a win. But again, it's like anything else. If you don't show up on that particular day, anybody can beat you. So I think that's the challenge, I think, for this week with the Cowgirls. But getting past Iowa State from a standing standpoint, from a confidence standpoint, massive win on Sunday.
Boy, it sure was good to see Lena Jardy back, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, she's a very key piece. Young player, very talented player. I think she's got a real bright future.
Yeah, she absolutely does. And I'll tell you, I think I've said this. We've communicated this back and forth, certainly via text message. I think the difference between this just being a good team and a team that gets an 8-9 seed, and it's a crapshoot in the first round like it was last year with South Dakota State. If you play good, you win, and then you lose the next round. If you play bad, you lose, and you don't win any games in the NCAA. I think the difference between that and a team that maybe could take the next level and be a Sweet 16 type team and further, if you play really good, if you're shooting really good and that kind of thing, is a Chillicothe. And the reason why I say that is the Cowgirls don't need a whole lot from her, but they do need enough from their low post presence to where the defense can't just extend out to the three-point line. And, of course, a lot of dribble penetration can eliminate that too. But still, if the defense has to just at least honor a Chillicothe because she can score in the situations to where the offense is dictated that she needs to score, that is a huge thing for this Cowgirl team, in my opinion.
I agree. She's one of those players that, in my opinion, that she may not get as many minutes as some other players, but she's one of those players. All right, when you're in, I need you to do something good. Either go get a couple rebounds, give me a couple of blocks. Stop the dribble penetration. Slide over when you need to. Those kind of things. So when you're out there, have very productive minutes. And I think she's a very good role player in that way. And she performed brilliantly on Sunday. She
did. She absolutely did. Lena Jardy looked good. Micah Gray, even though she broke her nose, she has the mask on. She was fantastic. And I'll tell you, Haley Timmer, I never can remember. I have a Hallie in class, and so it always messes me up. The same spelling, different way of saying it. Haley Timmer, she's played well, and we know she can shoot, but the way that she's taken the ball to the bucket and scored in different ways, I've been very impressed with. And Amari Whiting, I'm telling you, man, you don't understand. The box score doesn't even come close to describing what she means to this team. The way that she gets the ball in the right people's hands, she keeps balls alive. She makes sure the possessions stay organized. She's a leader on the court. I think really kind of unsung. It goes unsung how much Amari Whiting means to this team. Yeah.
And again, I think the thing with the Cowgirls, I mean, obviously, Sayla Hurd's a superstar.
No doubt.
But I think the thing that I also see is this team is developing, that we're getting a lot of good role players.
Yes.
That we're starting to get pieces are coming together with this team very nicely, and that everybody has their role to play. And going back to what you're saying about Haley Timmer, I completely agree. I think the whole goal with her game, she's doing a very nice job of that, is don't just be one dimensional. Okay, yes. we know she can shoot. I don't think anybody would argue that Timmer can't shoot. But if you can create a little bit more and create an option for another player to be open, because they're now having to double team you if you're able to do the dribble drive. It just adds a whole nother dynamic of the game and makes the team more. It's going to make you more valuable to the team and make the team better. So yeah. Did
you watch the national championship game?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Check Coach Gundy out?
No, I actually didn't get a chance to. We were with some folks, and we were watching, and of course, then everybody wanted to know my thoughts on the targeting or the non-targeting and all that, everything that went on. But no, it was that the thing that I think that struck me, and I went back and looked at the record books on that, is in my lifetime, that is the first time that I can honestly say that a non-blue blood won the national championship in college football. Really, you go back at
what year were you born?
85.
Georgia Tech in Colorado in 1990.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll give you that one. That was before Coach Prime, right?
Oh yeah. That was McCartney in Colorado. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'll give you that one. But at the same time, I've been alive for 40 years, and there's been 1-2 years where a non-blue blood won. I mean, it just flat doesn't.
Or at least a borderline. Like Indiana's not even borderline.
Yeah. Indiana's not even close. And that. Because it's always a Michigan, Ohio State, a Bama, those kind of teams are always the ones that win it, which I think kind of speaks to what we've been talking about with this transfer portal. You look at that's how Indiana did it. They went and they got experienced players that worked well together. They're very, very well coached. I tell you, the biggest thing I noticed with Indiana, particularly on defense, was their tackling technique was absolutely textbook. If a Miami receiver may catch the ball and get 6-7 yards depending on the play, but that's all he got. He very rarely did he shake loose. I mean, I know they got that one long run that went down the sideline, but overall, I mean, Indiana's just very, very fundamentally sound, and they don't beat themselves. I know coaches kind of overuse that term in my opinion sometimes, but it really was true with Indiana.
I think they radiate the confidence of their head coach too. So yeah, Coach Gundy was very good in the booth. There was no surprises there. Coach Gundy is always very good behind a microphone. He's very entertaining. And it kind of felt like he was trying to prove a point, if you will. Like, okay, well, he got ran out of town in Stillwater, Oklahoma, so I'm going to prove a point to the country that I know a little bit about ball. And hey, maybe somebody, I don't think he'll coach again. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. I think it would have to be a situation like OSU to where he can pretty much dictate his own terms. He understands nowadays that there's so much time that goes into finding these portal guys. There's so much time to finding, just filling out a roster and dealing with alumni and boosters and all the parts that he never wanted to deal with aren't going to go away, right? So I think it would have to be a situation that was on his terms for him to go back. But it felt like, and I know you didn't see it, but you'll have a comment to this. It felt like to me he was trying to prove a point to everybody that he still got it. And he was pretty cool to listen to.
Yeah, and I think that's and we talked about this back in the fall, that I don't think any OSU fan wanted his tenure to end like it did.
Nope.
Nobody. None of us wanted that. Because
I still want to walk up and give him a hug right now,
Exactly.
And say thank you. I want to do that. He won't let me.
Yeah. I mean, but you're exactly right. That's how we all feel about it. And I mean, obviously, Gundy knows what he's doing. I think it really just came down to whatever was going on within the football offices, where it wasn't working. Mm-hmm. And there at the end, that's all there was to it. It's not personal. It's not any of that kind of stuff. It just wasn't working. And I think two things can be true at once. I think that OSU did make the right decision. Mm-hmm. I 100% believe that. But I also think that, okay, it's also true that we need to be very thankful for Coach Gundy and everything that he's done. And no, I'd love to sit down and just talk football with him sometime. I think that'd be a blast. One
thing that kind of frustrates me, though, is that I think, before Coach Gundy came here, I think I know Les Miles left. I get it. But Les Miles did a really good job at Oklahoma State. He had Oklahoma State in the Cotton Bowl. He had them in the Alamo Bowl. He had them beating OU. So just the narrative that he inherited a dumpster fire, turned it into a Lamborghini, that's not true. Oklahoma State was an up-and-coming program. T. Boone Pickens was going to donate whether Mike Gundy was the head coach or not. They were going to build the facilities. They were going to get a great young coach, whoever that may be. Now, Mike Gundy may have done better than anybody else could have as a coach. We'll never know that. But it does frustrate me whenever people have the narrative that, well, he took over this sorry-ass program. It was a dumpster fire. And he just brought us out of the wilderness, and we have all of that, and that's all solely because of him. I just don't find that to be accurate because I think Les Miles did a really good job. I think Mike Holder was going to always have that relationship with T. Boone, and it was all going to get built with or without Mike Gundy. So that narrative frustrates me, but having said that, he was the perfect guy at the perfect time.
Yeah, I think whenever a team or an organization has success like that, it doesn't come down to one person.
Correct.
It had to be that there had to be a number of different. I mean, obviously, and credit to Mike, he had a number of really good assistants over the years too. I mean, we've had a number of assistants that have moved on to being head coaches, have had a lot of success. So and again, the administration had to be on board, the fans had to be on board, the donors had to be on board. But again, I think my sincere hope, and I said this before and I'll say it again, is at some point we're able to honor Mike Gundy properly, because I think he's earned it, and frankly, I want him to be still revered in Stillwater as he should be, and hopefully we can remember all the good things he did for us, not the last 2 years.
If we're mature enough to say, like you just said a minute ago, hey, it can be two things at once, Coach Gundy should be able to have that viewpoint too. It can be two things at once. Yes, I got fired. Yes, it sucked. Yes, it was after week 3. And then also, yes, I was the greatest coach of all time. So he needs to acknowledge that's two things at once, and that's okay. The same way that we were acknowledging, yes, he was the greatest thing of all time. Yes, he did leave it as a dumpster fire at the end. And yes, Oklahoma State did move on at the right time. So I hope he comes around to the exact thinking that you're saying there. And I don't think he necessarily will, but I do hope at some point when we're inducting him into the Hall of Fame that he does decide to be more than just a casual observer of Oklahoma State football. I hope he becomes more like a John Smith and Eddie Sutton, somebody who's able to enjoy this dude spent 40 years of his life. It would be a travesty for him not to get to spend the next 20 to 30 years of his life celebrating all the great work that he did. This is his life's work, Scott. Why throw that away over just being pissed off about a certain decision that was going to eventually have to happen no matter what, right?
Yeah. No, I think it's like anything else. When you get to a certain point in your life, you have to look back on it and realize that, okay, we had a lot of good times. We worked very hard. We did the best we could. And it's okay to be recognized for that. And again, I think the other thing I would also say to Mike is, there's a lot of people at Oklahoma State that still think very, very highly of Mike.
No doubt. And
there's still things you can do to help the university along. And frankly, I think everybody would welcome that help. I think it's sometimes when something like this happens, there needs to be a little bit of time in there. But I think we're getting close to that point where, okay, the time has passed. Okay, how do we get you back involved with the university?
I agree. I agree. And so I know people are like, hey, we need to move on. Hey, it's a new chapter. That is, again, back to the it can be both things. That is 100% correct. We do need to move on. It's Eric Morris's program. He washed his hands of it. I think we've had that conversation. Totally the correct decision. That's okay to have that conversation, and that is a correct conversation. But I think every once in a while we need to spark back up the Mike Gundy conversation, because at some point we need him to come back to this university and help in any way he can. Let us have a good relationship and celebrate the greatest years of Oklahoma State football history. Let's not tarnish that by being pissed off about this or that or whatever it may be. Okay, so let's move on now. We've had our conversation, like we said, the two-sided conversation. We've had our conversation about Coach Gundy. Let's move on to Coach Morris. Let's dive into the transfer portal, Scott. I've been starting to do a lot of research on the portal guys. The more research I do, the more I realize they went and got their superstar players, and just like Coach Gundy, all of the other guys that orbit around the superstars, they went and got guys that, hey, they have the talent, they have the measurables, all of the ability is there. It's just one thing or the other that's kept them from actually getting up to the ceiling of talent they have. So they've kind of gone for that kind of guy around their superstars, which is exactly the way Coach Gundy built this thing. So the more I broke this thing down and analyzed it and researched it, the more excited I'm getting about the diamond in the rough aspect of this program.
I am too. I think the thing that I think is difficult for me when I look at this transfer class, just the sheer volume of players.
Yes.
I mean, I think I looked and we had, what was it? We had like 40, 50 something transfers coming in. I mean, that's a huge, and we knew it was going to be like that because we had so many entering the portal, graduating, what have you. We knew this was going to be a massive portal signing. But again, I think there's a lot of players in here that I think there's a lot of upside to. It's one comment that somebody made to me earlier this week is, well, it seems like we're getting everybody from North Texas, and I said, okay, here's the deal, is statistically, because I believe there's diamonds in the rough out there. I think we all recognize that. Again, Indiana just did a great job with it. Mike Gundy did a great job with that over the years as well. Is it likely that everybody at North Texas was a diamond in the rough? Probably not. Just being honest. But at the same time, I guarantee you there's going to be some in there that are. And
Yes.
The other thing I think we're also finding with the new transfer portal is just because you started somewhere doesn't mean that that's necessarily where that's the level that you should be at.
Oh, most of these guys, this is like their third, maybe fourth school. Yeah.
Yeah. And they all have various reasons. One, okay, maybe they were behind somebody and they wanted to play a little bit more. Maybe they weren't being developed properly. There's a host of different, maybe the one they were homesick, that kind of thing. So, there's a host of different reasons why a player would transfer. So I think one of the things that we're going to have to get, I think this has changed over the years, is, in the old system, if a guy had an offer from Bama, Ohio State, Florida, and USC, you knew, okay, that's the guy. I don't think, and again, we're not going to be able to completely put that to the side. But I also think that we need to also open up the possibility that just because a guy wasn't offered by somebody with a name doesn't mean he's not a good ball player and he's not going to fit the system that we're trying to run. And it's always possible that a coach sees something in them that maybe nobody else did. The other thing I'd also say about that is, sometimes think about this. Try to project, if you step outside of football for a minute, step into the business world, try to project how good of a business person a kid's going to be when he's 18 years old.
Yes.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Good luck. There's a whole lot of development that goes on between in those years. So it's one of those things, just because a kid may have been projected one way when he's 18 does not mean that when he's 20, 21, 22, 20, even 23, 24 years old, that's where he's at currently. So I think that's something to kind of keep in mind as we look at the transfer portal. Because, again, we got a lot of kids. We got a lot of moving pieces in this portal, for sure.
We do. Like a Justin Bowick started at Eastern Illinois, worked his way to Illinois, and now he's at Oklahoma State, which some may say it's a lateral move because they're in the Big Ten, this and that. But I think whenever you look at what Oklahoma State's offense has a chance to be next year, I would disagree with that. So the interesting, before we get into some of the breakdowns of the actual players, and we're going to get into some, if you have a player that you want us to break down, I probably have video of them. We probably can talk about them together, the strengths and weaknesses, what they bring. And we're going to get into several that we want to talk about tonight. It's an interesting dichotomy because whenever you go group of five, Scott, it's a more sure thing, which sounds counterintuitive because you go, well, why wouldn't you get a Power 5 player? That Power 5 player seems like he would be the more sure thing. Well, they're actually not. The Power 5 player is the James Williams from Florida State, or the guy that we just got from Ine White from Penn State. It's that type of guy who was talented coming out of high school, talented enough to go to a Power 5, but hasn't really worked out, has not really hit their ceiling, hasn't lived up to the potential. So the question for an Oklahoma State type of place, do you want the guy that went to North Texas that has massively outproduced what they were coming out of high school, or do you want the Power 5 guy that has underproduced what they were supposed to be coming out of high school? Which one do you want? Because when you look at the transfer portal class, that's what it is for OSU.
Yeah, and I think the way that I would look at it is the same way that I would look at if I was investing in a stock. Is I don't really care what the stock was 3 years ago. I care about where's the stock headed. That's from where it is today. And I think that's really what it comes down to is, okay, based on the evaluation our coaches have done, on these kids today, where do they see that stock going? Do they see them as a role player? I know we signed a tight end. I think was a kid from LSU that was and it was originally from A&M. I know that's something a lot of OSU
Donovan
fans,
Green, yeah. We'll cover him today. I've got video on him.
Yeah. He's just an example of one that, okay, well, we need to have a guy with some good size at tight end. We've signed a number of guys on the line that have got the size that we're looking for. Okay, well, you can't.
Lepo 6'7", Sexton 6'6". Yeah,
and that's one thing I heard a coach tell me one time with the offensive line, say, you can't grow height.
Exactly.
You can put muscle on a kid, you can get them in better in shape, you can do all these kind of things, but if a kid's
better
6'1",
technique, that kind of thing.
Yeah, all that kind of thing. But if the kid's 6'1", he's not going to magically be 6'7" by next year. So that's something I think to keep in mind, and I think that's something that Coach Morris has done a very good job of in the type of kids he's been going after. Okay,
who do you want to dive into? Who you're excited about first?
Well, you mentioned Inai White. Let's talk about him. So he's 6'5", 280.
Let me go ahead and put this on the screen. You're not seeing it yet, but I will put that. Let me let's see. Are you seeing it now, Scott?
No, I got me.
No, okay. Go ahead and talk about him. I'll try to get on the screen for you.
Okay. D Lyman. I'm reading his stats here. D Lyman, 6'5", 280. Originally out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
I believe, if I remember right, that this young man was very highly touted out of high school, but I believe that he tore his ACL, didn't he? Yeah. So that's something to keep in mind. Some, and it is true that some athletes after an ACL that tear, that they're never the same. But I tell you another thing I've also seen with some kids is, yes, initially coming off the injury, obviously they may not be the same player they were. But there's a lot of coaches that don't give it enough time for them to get back to the player that they were, and eventually they do get back to that. So, I think he's one that, again, he's got the measurables, he's got the size, he's got the speed. I really think that this is a very, very good pickup for the coaching staff.
Yeah, and I can only play a certain amount of video, I think, before it starts tagging me. So, Inai White, okay, so actually let me flip this back over and we can kind of watch this together. So if you see him right there, he's number 5 there, number 6 right there. He's a guy that he's kind of a tweener. So it depends on, there's a good tackle right there, that boy. Mm-hmm. So it kind of depends on if you're glass half full or if you're glass half empty with these kind of guys. So a glass half empty type of thinker would say, well, he's a tweener. He's not a defensive end. He's not a tackle, right? Well, a guy half full would say, well, he's a hybrid. So what Coach Cassidy can do is that Inai White could be a 5 tech, 1 down. The next down, he could be a 7 or a 9 tech, maybe even a 6 tech straight up over a tight end. And Coach Cassidy can change fronts without actually having to change personnel. And what's the significance of that? If you're an offensive coordinator and the other team doesn't actually have to sub in different guys, but yet can go from an even to an odd front, can change coverages, can change whether they have a drop, can change whether they have a high shell or whatever it may be, okay? If a defensive coach can do that without having to sub players, that's why the H-back is so important on offense, is because it gives you that ability to attach a tight end and play on the line or flex out, which was what I like about Donovan Green. He's done a lot of both of those. And so I think I'm going to see the positive side of this with Inai White in the fact that I think he's going to be very versatile. I think he's going to be used more as a defensive tackle. So I think Coach Aguaye is probably going to get him more than Coach Richmond. But I do think there are certain rundowns to where they're going to want to go a little bit heavier maybe, and he will flex out maybe at a 7 tech or a 9 tech or even, like I said, maybe a 6 tech. So I think Oklahoma State is going to be able to use Inai White in many different ways, and because of that, I'm very excited.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with everything that you just said there. One of the other things that I think a lot of times we forget about when we get into the heat of the battle, if you will, in the game, is we always say that, okay, if we give up a big play, well, the other team, our coach didn't have the right coverage. Well, coach might have had the right coverage, but because of substitutions or what have you, they didn't have the right player in the right spot. So that's why having a player that is able to do multiple things, not just rush the quarterback, but he also could drop back if needed. Just like you said, you got options with an I White. I think that's really what the coaching staff is going for.
100%. Here is a guy here, Scott. I am so excited. This is Tyreek Hill, ladies and gentlemen. This is Tyreek Hill. Now, nobody on earth is as fast as Tyreek Hill, but I think comparatively who he's running against, watch this. I mean, it's this dude, Chris Barnes. I could not be more excited about Chris Barnes. This guy is a game changer. And then whenever you add Israel Polk, who came over from Akron, originally went to Pittsburgh out of California. Israel Polk loves to block as a receiver, a big 6'1", 6'2" guy. Loves to block. When you throw, let me back that up. When you throw that bubble that we just saw right there to Chris Barnes, actually, I think it's going to come up here in a minute. When you throw that bubble or you run that play right there and Israel Polk is blocking on the edge and Chris Barnes has that speed behind it, man, let's start football tomorrow. I cannot wait to watch Israel Polk at receiver block for Chris Barnes and then watch Chris Barnes do this. Adios. See you later.
Yeah, another player that he really reminded me of was Brennan Presley.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, he's another one of those players that if you get him the ball in space, you better look out because
yes.
it may
Watch
be a
this. Watch this. Yeah, keep going, Scott.
Well, I was going to say that kickoff return right there looks just like Brennan Presley against OU.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It absolutely does, doesn't it? 100%. Yeah. Or you know who it reminds me of a little bit too is Justin Gilbert. Remember him, right?
Yep.
Just kind of that speed. Let's flip that back over and watch that from the front side of that. That's a pretty impressive batch of speed right there. Let me back that up 10 seconds. Here he goes, man. Shifty, fast, and I mean these guys are just moving in mud trying to. They both have great. Of course, those are two special teams guys. I get that. I'm not, but this guy's really fast. Boy, watch this. See ya. Yeah. I mean, guy has an angle on him, has a horse collar, but yeah, super excited about him. Any final thoughts on Chris Barnes?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that last clip, those two guys trying to chase him look like you and I trying to chase him.
Speak for yourself, Scott. I'm still sleek as a deer, right? Yeah,
right.
No, you know better. No, you've seen that. Okay, so you mentioned earlier, who do you want to go to next? You want to go to the tight end?
Yeah, let's go to the tight end.
Okay, here we go. Right here, Donovan Green. Good player. To be honest with you, I wasn't blown away watching him. What I do like about him, there he is right there. He can flex out. He can attach. He is a very good blocker. I think he's probably a better blocker than he is a pass receiver. But what I like right there, watch that, Scott. This is what we missed last year. This is the Rashad Owens effect. Watch this right here. Let me stop it right here, okay? So he's getting ready to show the quarterback. When the quarterback throws that ball, this is a huge target right there. Look at both of his numbers are pointed towards the quarterback. We did not have that receiver last year. Mm-hmm. Everything that we threw was a receiver running away from the quarterback or running sideways or whatever. Rashad Owens would be so good at just posting up, using his big body to shield the defender and showing both numbers to Alan Bowman, and it made easy throws for Bowman. We missed that last year. See how he's showing the numbers there? I think those big throws, whether they be in the middle of the field or to the hashes or whatever, I think that's something that's going to be very big that Donovan Green can bring this offense. Not an unbelievably explosive athlete, but more versatile, I would say, than probably explosive.
I think before I even saw the tape and saw his skills, I think the biggest thing for me was just the simple fact that, hey, look, we're recruiting a tight end,
yes,
and we're probably going to use him. I think the biggest thing from a tight end standpoint is tight ends can be used in those third and middle yardage, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, and they can help extend a drive. Those kind of plays, because I see a lot of because that can, because you think about it, that the difference between getting let's say that we're on the opponent's 40, right? And we just, even if we get a first down from there and we get another 6 yards, we get inside the 35, we may not score a touchdown, but that can be the difference between getting a field goal or not, just by getting that one first down to get into the opponent's territory. So I think that's the biggest thing I'm excited about. It's just that we are recruiting a tight end, and I think that we have an intention of using them.
I'm in the world's worst. I never get off of it. Throw the ball to the middle of the field. I mean, it just seems like even like maybe the last 10 years, OSU just never used the middle of the field. Even when we had the big dude that came in as a quarterback and transferred out and had a good year at Virginia, whatever. I think he actually made the NFL. I can't remember his name right now. Even when we had him, we wouldn't throw him the ball, right? I mean, it was crazy how we wouldn't throw the ball to the tight end. So, yeah, hopefully we use – and, hey, Donovan Green is that guy. We talked about Anaya White on the defensive end. This is a guy that's going to be able to flex out and be an inside receiver. He's going to be able to be an H-back that's 1-by-1 off the line of scrimmage. He's going to be, which is basically a half fullback, half tight end. He's going to be able to put a hand in the ground, be an attached tight end. And so Oklahoma State, Eric Morris, they're going to be able to change personnel. When I say personnel, like 10 personnel, 11 personnel, 12 personnel. They're going to be able to change their formations and their maybe even their deep threats without actually having to make substitutions with their player personnel. And that is so hard on a defensive coordinator when you don't know, are they going to be in 2-by-2, 3-by-1? Are they going to run the ball? Because a lot of times when a defensive coordinator goes, they say, okay, well, if it's third down and less than 4, it's on this hash, and they bring in number 20, they run the ball 78% of the time. Well, all of those tendencies go out the window, and you are guessing as a defensive coordinator when you have a guy like Donovan Green on the field. Yeah,
and at the end of the day, that's how you have success, because it's one of those things. Modern defenses, if they know they've got, like I said, if they're playing, they're playing the analytics game, but if they know that 80% of the time you do something, they're probably going to stop it. I mean, that's just reality.
Yep. Okay, so I'm getting a warning here that I got to slow down my roll on the video that I'm rolling here. So if that happens and we get cut off, whatever. But the next two guys I wanted to go to, Ashton Lepo, a young man out of Western Michigan, went to Michigan State, and then Jacob Sexton. And I do have video on them. If you want the video, go to any of my social media platforms, whether that be X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, all of them. The video's on there for Jacob Sexton and Ashton Lepo. I think the thing that that needs to be recognized here for Lepo and Sexton. Lepo, 6'7". Okay, Sexton, 6'6". Now, why? You would think air raid. We're going to be running zone scheme up front, where it's going to be based on space and quickness. You would intuitively you would think, well, we need a little quick kind of zone type of offensive lineman. We need the Josh Hensons of the world, right? Actually, it's the exact opposite, because in the air raid, Scott, what happens is that you're going to have big splits, big, wide splits. And the reason why big, wide splits from your offensive lineman is such a big deal is that if you're going to throw the ball a lot, right, and you widen out your splits, well, guess what that does to your pass rushers? That widens them out too, right? So The pass rushers, the wider the splits are, the further away they are from the quarterback, which just inherently gives your quarterback that much more time to throw. That's number one. Number two, when you spread out defensive linemen, that makes it more clear. Is he a 3-eye? Is he a 4? Is he a 5? Is he a 6, 7, 9? What is he? And so if you can identify, is he inside, outside, whatever technique he is, that makes it easier for the offensive lineman to identify what their assignment is, right? And so to be able to do all of that, you got to have guys that aren't just big. You've got to have guys that have wingspan, because if you're going to have big splits, you got to have a guy like an Ashton Lepo at 6'7". That's basically a Boeing 747 aircraft whenever he expands his arms, and it's hard for a defender to get around him. So with taller, longer offensive linemen, that allows you to have bigger splits, spread the defense out, but still cover those big gaps with the length. I know I went on for a long time. I hope that made sense.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right on that. And I think, and I go back to what I said earlier. It's one of those things where if the guy, you can't, that's something you can't teach, right? Either you got the frame or you don't. And it's obvious that, to me, the other thing I would say is it's obvious that Coach Morris has a plan as to exactly what type of offensive lineman he's going after, because he's going after similarly built individuals. I'll put it that way.
Yep, 100%. Okay, let's get to a guy. See, here's one of these guys. Here's a couple of guys that, okay, they've underperformed their talent. They are extremely, extremely, extremely talented. Get him to Oklahoma State, get him with Greg Richam, get him with Coach Aguaye, get him in a correct system, and you never know what you're going to get. This is DJ Jackson Jr. from Troy. This is a guy, just watch him. I mean, this is a 6'4". This is a 260-pound defensive end. Now, you tell me. I mean, that guy is quick right there, okay? This is a guy with explosive quickness, a guy with a lot of upside, and he actually went to Coffeyville, so he's somewhat familiar with the region here. And so this is a guy that I think, at least on passing downs, now the question is, can he be an everyday down? Can he handle tight ends? Can he stop the run game? I get all that, but this is a guy that is extremely explosive as an edge rusher, which what I like about this, him and James Williams and some of the other guys they've gotten, they have dedicated slots for guys that can rush the quarterback. And that's something that I think we lacked last year, although Malik Charles and Wendell Greger are good players. I think DJ Jackson Jr., I think James Williams, both have kind of in the weeds right now, lots of ability to rush the quarterback. So I'm excited about DJ Jackson.
Yeah. I haven't had a chance to watch a whole lot of film on him, but from what I can see here, again, you can tell the kid's pretty quick. He's got pretty quick feet, which, with the type of offenses that are run nowadays, if you're going to play that position, and it's not like the old days where if you were just big and you could plug up a hole, you can't do that anymore. You've got to have quick feet. And it looks like he's got that. And I agree with you. I think you get him in our strength and conditioning program, getting coached up, I think it'd be another very good solid player for us.
100%. And I'm going to try to sneak this one in. If we get cut off, we get cut off. I really don't care. We'll do it. We're going to continue to do these until we roll through not tonight, but with each show we do, we're going to roll through all the portal guys. This is James Williams. This is when he was at Nebraska. Now watch this guy. Watch how quick this guy and watch how aggressive he is. He reminds me of J.J. Watt in the way that he just attacks the quarterback. Now, I'm not saying he's that good. Watch this, though. I mean, this guy's very aggressive. He's very quick. He has every single element that you could possibly want or need to be a very good edge rusher. Now, I don't know if he can be an every down defensive end. I don't know if he can handle the run game. And he missed, this is Pro Football Focus. He missed almost 30% of his tackles last year. The reason is, as you watch that clip, actually, let me go back to this clip. Watch this again, okay? Watch how aggressive he is. So he's almost over-aggressive. So he kind of loses his leverage. Watch how aggressive he gets over his skis, if you will. And because of that, he doesn't keep his feet underneath him. And because of that, a quarterback's able to slip here or slip there, a running back. So he's going to have to gain some technique. He's going to have to do some things from a technique perspective a little bit better to clean up the missed tackles and that kind of thing. But James Williams, again, 6'6", extremely quick, a guy certainly with NFL-type tools. It's just a matter of, it's like being in the minor leagues. You have the ability to be a major leaguer. You have the tools to be a major leaguer. Can we use the minor league process to refine those tools to reach your ceiling? That's the process for James Williams. It's all there. Those are the kinds of Power 5 transfer portal guys that Eric Morris is bringing in, guys with NFL type tools, but just haven't quite reached them yet, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to look at with this particular class is I don't know if I see too many players I would say are the absolute finished product.
Yes.
Where you're just bringing Michael Jordan off the
100%.
bench. Now I will say this: I think Messmaker's pretty good quarterback. But beyond that, I think every player in this class has room for development. But I think that at the end of the day, that's really what we needed to go after. Because let's be honest, are we going to go get a bunch of guys that were just the finished product, given everything that's with the turnover and everything that's going on? That's not realistic. So really what you want to go get is you want to go get guys that you feel like they have the upside to become really, really good ball players. And like I said, from just even the guys we've talked about tonight and even some of the other ones we're going to talk about in the future, I see that a lot in this class. I see that there's a lot of these guys that with some development, they can become very, very good football players.
Here's another one right here, Vincent Holmes, a young man who's transferring out of the University of Washington. oh my God, this guy's talented. Okay, now he has not been a good college football player. I'm not going to blow smoke up anybody's you-know-what, okay? He has not figured out how to become a good college football player yet. He hasn't figured out where to be on the field. He hasn't figured out assignments. He hasn't figured out how to take tools in baseball. You call it, you take tools, turn it into results. He has not crossed that bridge yet, so don't think that I'm saying that. But he's another guy like James Williams, like DJ Williams. This is a 4-star recruit coming out of high school. This is a guy that if it clicks, he will not if. It's not a matter of it's not questionable does he have the tools to be an NFL player. It is he will be an NFL player if he can turn those tools into results because the tools are NFL caliber. And so excited about him. And what I'm really excited about, Julian Wilson coming in as a secondary coach, played in the NFL. And so I think that was probably a big part of it. I think Julian Wilson will do wonders for Vincent Holmes here, this young man. And then also, I think the scheme, the cover 3 to where, they back up about 6 yards and they let the routes kind of take place in front of them and they drop to a spot and not necessarily a receiver. I think that will reduce some of the confusion for Vincent Holmes, and I think those things will help him. So lots of upside for Vincent Holmes. Yeah,
again, like you said, he's another one of these guys that the raw talent is there. We've just got to make sure that we're developing him properly, which, again, I know I'm probably sounding like a broken record, but I am going to be more interested in spring football this year than I think I ever have been before, just to see how these guys develop, watch them, live in person. Hopefully we'll get the opportunity to do that. But yeah, no, he's another one that I think if you get the right, you get the right coaching, you get the right development, and a lot of this, and this from your coaching days, the player has got to have the right mindset too.
100%.
That okay, there's things I've got to improve on my game, and I'm going to follow everything that my coach is telling me to do, and that's going to make me better. But he comes in with the right attitude. I think he could be a very, very good ball player.
Okay, you got 5 more minutes, Scott?
Sure.
Okay. This is one of the guys I'm maybe the most excited about, Justin Bowick. This dude is legit, man. 6'4". He has an attitude. Okay, so why am I so excited about him? Obviously the size, and I can't play a whole lot of his video. I'll play about 3 of these right here. It's the size. Okay, so last year, one thing I think Oklahoma State really missed, especially like on 3rd and 8 or in the red zone, they missed a guy that could just go high point a deep ball or high point a fade pass or just beat a defender, create separation. Justin Bowick is going to be the guy at 6'4". He is a master. And let me go ahead and flip this over. Justin Bowick is really, really good at high pointing the ball. He has a big wingspan. He's very good at doing this too. He's going to do kind of like Donovan Green. He's going to be able to post in the middle of the field and or on a hash, show both the numbers, make easy throws. He can take the top off just like that. But I think really where he's going to help is on 3rd downs and in, like right there, that pass right there. He created separation. He caught it. But 3rd downs, and then see how he made a tough catch in traffic. He was able to use his big body to shield the defender. And then there he just went over the top of him. So he's going to be able to go over the top of a defender and catch let me back this up. Here's the one I'm excited about. This is the one that's really going to help OSU, I think, the most right here. Let me right here. Watch this. See this? This is what OSU missed last year. Being able to just beat a defender on a fade pattern on a 3rd and 8 or inside the scoring zone, whatever. Justin Bowick at 6'4", I think he's going to be the guy Oklahoma State needed to do all of those things, just to kind of make a play when one's not there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we used to make a living with those type of receivers, and it started with Rashawn Woods. Then you had Darius Bowman, you had Tylen Wallace. With the guy, like you said, the guy.
Don't forget Hartley Dykes, baby.
Oh yeah. Yeah, don't forget Hartley. But to your point, and I agree with you. What you need is, I love the slot receivers. I think that is definitely that has to be a part of the game. The bubble screens, all that stuff, that's a part of the game now. But I also think that it's one of those things where what is it that we really want on the outside perimeter? We want to get our athlete against their athlete in space, and if we can get one-on-one coverage, and you've got a cornerback that's 5'9", 5'10", and you got a guy that's 6'4", good hands, can jump with his body. You throw it up there. If you happen to get him one-on-one, it's game over. The receiver's going to win that battle.
Yeah, right there, just like that right there. OSU has desperately missed out. I think Rashad Owens was able to do a little bit of it. I think Des Dribbling could have done it. I think they just didn't use Des Dribbling at all. And then another guy, here's another one of these guys that's really, really under the radar. I'm not going to try to blow smoke. I'm not going to try to tell you that he's the next coming of Justin Blackman or any one of those guys. But Rodney Harris Jr., I think Oklahoma State fans are going to like this guy. He's 6'2". He's very reliable. He's a guy that he can take the top off. I mean, he's not super fast or anything. I mean, he's got speed, but he's another guy that can high point the ball. Think like Marcel Aitman. You know, a guy that's a little bit more stationary, a guy that's not necessarily the speed type of guy, but the guy that is going to post up, the guy that can catch the tough ball, and the guy that can high point a ball and kind of do that right there and just beat a defender one-on-one, not necessarily with speed, quickness, or any of that. Let me show you this one here. This is going to remind you, this next play that I'm going to show you right here. Let me actually fast forward. You mentioned Rashawn Woods, and I'm not saying he's going to be Rashawn Woods. Let me show you this. This looks exactly like Rashawn Woods right here. Watch that. See how he adjusted that ball, used his hips, got upfield? I mean, that looks exactly like the way Rashawn Woods used to position himself to catch balls. So this is a guy I think he's going to be able to use his body. He's tall enough. He has good length. He's going to be able to post up a little bit, high point some balls, do a little bit of everything for this OSU offense. Just kind of be a reliable guy. I'm not going to say he's going to be the playmaker or super explosive, but I think he's a guy you're going to look up and go, well, you know, he had 4 or 5 catches, and all 4 or 5 catches were huge. I think that's Rodney Harris the second.
Yeah, I could definitely see him being one of those kind of those role players like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, he may not have the numbers that go eye popping on the stat sheet, but at the same time, the thing with football is, you know, sometimes I don't need a guy to go off for 150. I just need, in this moment, I need a guy to get me 10 yards. You know, he could be that guy, and you know they may be bracketing coverage over against another receiver, something like that, and they're leaving him open. You know, and that's what picks up the first down for us. I mean, you never know how a football game is going to end up like that. But again, another good, I think, solid addition. You know, I think my overall opinion of the transfer portal is I think it's foolish to say that, okay, well, we think that every one of these guys is just fantastic and
right,
blowing smoke, which we're not doing. But what I do see with this group is I see a lot of potential, and I see a lot of again, as we started this, we just got a lot of players. I mean, this is probably the biggest influx of players, different names and everything that we've ever seen at Oklahoma State. I mean, frankly, I think we're all going to, that first game, we're going to have to, I think they released a schedule. We're at Tulsa. I think if I get to go to that game, I'm going to have a chart with have a roster with me, know who's who. So
no doubt. No doubt. Israel Polk's another 6'1" receiver. We're not going to be able to get to video of him because we're about to run out of time, and then also we're about to run out of copyright leniency, if you will. So Israel Polk, 6'1" receiver out of Akron. He's the guy I was talking about before. Good player. I think he's the guy that does all the nitty-gritty. He blocks for the bubbles. You know, he may post up, catch a 5-yard square out or whatever it may be, or maybe a slant every now and then, but I don't think a superstar by any stretch. I think Wyatt Young, Bowick, I think maybe even a Rodney Harris Jr., Chris Barnes, maybe a Miles Coleman. I think those are the guys you're going to feature, but you know, some good depth behind that with guys like Israel Polk, maybe a Rodney Harris Jr.'s depth, that kind of thing. So, okay, Scott, this has been great. Any final thoughts on OSU basketball, Cowgirl basketball, and/or transfer portal?
I think what I'd say with basketball is, you know, Cowgirls have got some momentum. You know, again, had a great win on Sunday. Let's keep that up. Men's basketball, to be frank, I think we've got to get back to doing what got us to all those wins in the non-conference. We've gotten something feels off, and I can't quite put my finger on it other than, okay, we just lost a horrible game last night. But hopefully we'll figure out whatever that is and we'll get back on the right track. But again, the Big 12 schedules, it's not going to do us any favors at all. Yeah. And as far as the portal, again, I can't wait to get these guys out there in spring ball. And let's see what happens.
You ever had that pitcher as you're umpiring behind the plate that you just can't quite get in a groove with? You can't get in a rhythm. It feels like, you don't know whether your borderline pitches that you're calling, if you're calling them right or wrong. You can't get in that comfortable zone. You ever done that, Scott?
Oh yeah, it's happened. It's happened many times. And the funny thing is, half the time I can't explain why.
Right.
What is it about this kid that I can't quite get? I can't quite get it right. But yeah, no, that happens quite frequently, believe it or not.
Doesn't that kind of feel like Coach Lutz with this team? Coach Lutz is a very good coach. He's a technician. He knows how to coach defense. He knows how to coach good enough offense. This is atypical for a type. Last year's team is more typical of his type of team, to where you saw how fundamental they became by the end of the year. That was a very well coached by the end of last year. So this just kind of reminds me, watching Coach Lutz, it's like he doesn't know what to do because he can't figure out why he can't get his guys to play like his teams always play. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good analogy. My hope is we're going to figure it out at some point. Well, and it's not to say, this team's won, 14 games already? Now, granted,
Yes.
We didn't play a murderer's row of a schedule. I'm not going to say that, but I agree with you. It's just we're just can't seem to figure things out yet. But the thing is with the Big 12, we better figure it out fast if we want to try to turn this thing around.
If it comes to that, yay or nay on the NIT? No comment because that sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, man. This has been a lot of fun. Hey, we're going to go through these, and we're going to eventually get to every single transfer portal guy, and likely we're going to recycle through these guys multiple. I mean, you're likely on OkState Daily, you're going to have seen these guys. We're going to have analyzed these guys, cussed and discussed these guys, probably each one of them 100 times by the beginning of next season. So keep coming back to these live shows. We're going to keep rolling clips of these guys. We're going to keep talking about them until they become second nature to us. So hopefully by the time we all go to Tulsa and watch that game this year, we don't have to have a program to know who's in the Oklahoma State lineup. So, Scott, thanks, man.
Thanks.
Thanks to everybody out there. We've had a really good crowd tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, I think we may go live Friday night, then again Sunday night. But just, hey, the best thing, turn on your notifications. This is all a hobby for us, so we never quite know when we exactly have time to these live shows. We should be more consistent with them, but just turn on your notifications. Make sure you follow us on social media. That way, when we decide to go live, you will be notified. So thank you to everybody else out there that tuned in. And as always, go Pokes.